Thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Lumiere Music Hall. We have a very special film tonight called From Darkness to Light. It's a documentary and it's absolutely fascinating. It's about the film that we've all heard about, The Day the Clown Cried, that was never released. I want to thank our partners on tonight's event, the Jewish American Heritage Month Los Angeles. I want to thank the Jewish Historical Society and Steve Sass, who regrettably is not here. Challah and Soul, our friends are here. And the Golden Project. So I want to thank you guys for partnering us and really helping to get the word out about this.
Thank you so much for coming, guys. We'll start off shouting until the microphones work. What a great crowd, and I just want to start off by asking Stan. Stan had the pleasure.
Yeah, louder than us.
Stan had the pleasure of meeting Jerry Lewis. Can you tell us about the circumstances and where was Jerry's head at that time?
Oh, well, Jerry's head was firmly attached, and he was in Hollywood. There was a screening of The Nutty Professor, and it was at the TV Academy. And I was able to have a little audience with him, and lucky, because I do run a film festival, so I get to meet a lot of wonderful celebrities. You know, you have to know how to start to at least have them listen to you. And it's something that I learned from Jerry Lewis. He once said that in his heyday when he was making films, he said, I've got to get my audience on my side within the first 45 seconds that I'm on the screen, or else I've lost them. So if you watch his movies, you catch him in the first 45 seconds. So remembering that, I used that on Jerry. And what I said to him was, before I ask you my question, I want to thank you, because short of saving my uncle's life, the Muscular Dystrophy Association made it so much more affordable and easy for him in his final years. And that just melted his heart, because that meant so much to him. And then I asked him questions about Charlie Chaplin, meeting Chaplin, because I knew that he met him in France, and he had a wonderful audience, so I'll tell you that brief story. He told me that Charlie Chaplin said to him, I adore your film, The Bellboy. Can I have a print? And Jerry Lewis said, I will send you a print if you send me a 35mm print of Modern Times. So I never knew what happened. Jerry said, I got a print made from the New York Negative, and I have a print of Modern Times from Chaplin's Negative. And that was the end of it. Now, a close friend of mine named Rob Stone, who recently retired from the Library of Congress, who was the one instrumental in getting all of Jerry Lewis's film material to the Library of Congress, where it resides to this day. I asked Rob, do me a favor, can you tell me if there is a print of Modern Times there from Charlie Chaplin's archive? And Rob said, I don't have to look. It's right in front of me in the office here. The cans were still sealed with the metal clips. Jerry never opened the print. He just wanted to have it. And then I tried to get Jerry to my film festival, and we had nice conversations, and at the last minute, the mic died. No, at the last minute, he just couldn't make it, but he was warm and kind, and everybody who says anything to the opposite just does not understand what a really decent guy he was.
Great. Can you tell us, Stan, about the mystique and mystery that has always surrounded The Day the Clown Cried?
When you are a famous comedian loved the world over, every film you make is eagerly anticipated. And Jerry Lewis was so popular that, believe it or not, on his 40th birthday, which was in 1966, Paramount Pictures presented him a birthday present unlike any present that any filmmaker ever received. Paramount Pictures gave him the rights to all of the films he had made previously. So Jerry owned everything he made at Paramount from the beginning right up until 1966. So imagine that kind of power. But by the end of the 60s, his films were waning with popularity, just like the way Laurel and Hardy had to move aside for Abbott and Costello, and the way Abbott and Costello had to move away from Martin and Lewis. You know, it's a cycle. You just don't retain all the audience. And so this particular film, when it was announced that he had made it, and everybody wanted to see this movie. Jerry Lewis wanted to do his own personal Citizen Kane, showing a new side of him. And of course, over the years, it has become such an impressive query that where's this missing film? You know, there are missing films that go back to certainly the silent era that some people are still waiting to find somewhere in an uncovered attic. But this film was the one that we all wanted to see. You're all here because you wanted to see what this is, even though the film's never been completed. But the mystique of this was that when people found out that for decades Jerry would never talk about it, and that no one knew that there was footage that even existed, because he didn't say there was any footage that existed, this film was just one of those great mysteries of the cinema. What if? Would we ever? We will never. And then, all of a sudden, in his final years, he started to open up about things. You know, he did another film, it's a TV show from 1959 called The Jazz Singer. He did his own version of The Jazz Singer, which they did finally release on videotape because Jerry said, okay now, but for decades he withheld it. He withheld a lot of his stuff. And if you watch The Jazz Singer, and I'm one of the biggest Jerry Lewis fans in the world, and I'm not embarrassed to tell you, he miscast himself in that role. It's not Al Jolson or, I mean, well, not that Danny Thomas was any better, but he wasn't really, he became the Jerry we all loved, and it didn't quite make sense with the serious story of the young guy who wants to perform and not be a cantor. And so it was almost, when I remember hearing about this film, I thought, oh, I bet this is his second chance at trying to do a great Jewish story. Yeah. And even though we find it difficult, as I do, this is the fourth time I've seen this documentary, and I'm still plagued. I'm still wondering where the comedy is in this. And yes, I enjoyed Life is Beautiful. I enjoyed the Benigni film. I enjoyed what it did. And yet, there's something about this that I am still troubled by. Not to mention the fact that I think, again, he was miscast. He just didn't really... It's very tough to write, direct, produce, and star and actually catch what's going on. So, you know, I leave it up to you. The film will never be released because it was never completed. And Rob Stone at the Library of Congress said to me, we only have a few reels that Jerry had. And those are the reels they talk about in the film. Because people... 2 years ago, put faux articles out that said, hey, this film is coming out. Jerry's will said 10 years after he's gone, The Day the Clown Cried can be seen. But Library of Congress does not have the footage. And the man that saved the footage, it's only saved on this, you know, crude 1-inch videotape. And you saw the quality. This didn't look like, you know, camera negative material. You saw the grease pencils and the scratches. You know, this is called a work print. You know what a work print is. It's just a work print to work through how you're going to finally cut the negative. The best thing that survives in this is the soundtrack, because that's the original mag track. So it's a shame that it never got completed, but the footage that you've seen, I think, tells you all you really need to know. And for the fact alone that the filmmaker got Jerry to talk about this near the end of his life, this is only a few years before he passed. I mean, he's basically an elderly man opening up about the biggest mistake he did in his career. And I think it was very brave of him to do that.
So what in this film, Stan, stands out to you as a revelation that now we have lifted the curtain on this mysterious film? What's your take?
I believe that I know what he was trying to do, and that's what I see. The revelation is he was trying to humanize the situation, but just like Mel Brooks said, you know, Nazis are funny, but the Holocaust is something much different. I have relatives, our last name is in the Holocaust Museum of relatives I will never know, so I don't find it funny. And yet, Mel Brooks does the producers and actually makes it hysterical by ridiculing, making it farce, and we can laugh at it. I'm sorry Jerry didn't quite catch that, but as far as a revelation is, the moments when he's not talking, the moments when he's looking at the children are the most human moments in the entire piece, because I can empathize, because I understand that.
I made a film 2 years ago on Gene Wilder, and I think it was clear to us that Gene reached a point in his career that his Jewishness was speaking to him, and that's when The Frisco Kid was made, which is probably about as Jewish a film as you're going to find. Do you think that played a role with Jerry? Jerry's wife, Patty, was Roman Catholic. All 6 of his children were raised Catholic. Do you feel he had some sort of inner Judaism that just needed to be expressed?
That's such a great question, and I think you're 100% right. I think that because of the fact that he had children that were not being raised the way he was, this was his way of letting them know, this is the other part of your heritage. You know, Jerry also was very good sported about it. I don't know if any of you have seen this. You might have seen this. There was a roast, not one of the Dean Martin roasts. It was a Kraft Music Hall roast. And there's a moment in the film where Don Rickles, who, perhaps you've heard of Don Rickles, right? Don Rickles is telling a story, as only Don does, and he says, and there's Jerry sitting over here, and there's Patty, his beautiful, beautiful Italian wife. And I love going to their beautiful mansion in Bel Air, and you can always reach out and see Patty with the kids with the big stand yelling, ice! Italian ice! And Jerry's falling down laughing about it. And I always wondered, is he faking it? Or is he laughing for real? Because I bet that just got to him a little bit.
Interesting, really interesting. I'm friendly with Jerry's children, Scott and Chris. And Chris is interesting because Chris is convinced. He does not like this film. Chris saw a print when Harry Shearer saw the print, and he remembers that the film was fantastic and that his dad loved it, and he feels, I just was at a screening of the same film with Chris, and Chris said, I think that words were put in my dad's mouth, that he loved the film, and maybe that's just Chris defending his dad and not wanting anything negative to come out.
Well, you all heard him talking in the interview here. And I can't imagine anyone telling Jerry Lewis what to say. No offense. I mean, Chris and I have many mutual friends, and we've never met. But I'm not going to lie. I mean, Jerry said what he said, and you know Jerry's views on Joan Rivers. I mean, no one put those words in his mouth. I mean, he was a very opinionated guy and stuck by whatever he said. So.
Gotcha. Is there anything I haven't asked, Stan, that you'd like to say, and then we'll open it up to the audience?
I just hope everybody understands that this is an important film because this was something for film scholars who have been eager to see. The filmmaker, not the filmmaker, but the one who saved the reels, claims he's going to release the movie. And I don't know how he can, because if he does, it's still not complete. And it doesn't look very sharp and clear, so I think it's just going to be a curio. But what I want people to remember is that a long time ago, there was a guy with a partner who, performed, and for 10 years made the world laugh, and they continued to entertain the world, and that was their mission, to entertain and to make the world happier. And in Jerry's case, what he did, he didn't invent the Muscular Dystrophy Association, but he was there at the beginning and put it on the map. And every Labor Day from the time I was 5 years old, I never left the house because I stayed up with Jerry I watched the stars come out. And so whatever you might think of this, whatever you might think of things you may hear about the family, because I can't use Jerry as a dad. I can't use him as a family man. But for me, you know, he is one of those few people in the world that has made my life so much happier and has made the world so much richer for what he gave us. And I just hope people understand that as time goes by and people will say, who? Jerry who? Because there are people that say, who's Johnny Carson? I'm sorry. You know, the world is moving on. But Jerry deserves a place the same way Chaplin and Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, Harold Lloyd, and Dick Van Dyke. You know, these are legendary people that have helped us live better lives. And, you know, I'll take that to the grave with me.
Bravo.
Nice.
And then the King of Comedy brought me back to life. I mean, that was as dramatic as I've ever had to be.
Well, it's a great compliment because I always wanted him to be happy with it. And I'm glad that he lived long enough to know the appreciation that the pictures received around the world. Every facet of show business is based on this guy. And so he has to be the king of comedy in the film.